Each one of us is deserving of love, not just from others, but more importantly, from ourselves. So what does it even mean to really love ourselves? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Madhav Satija, and I'm so happy and grateful to be serving and supporting you all as this year's head prefect. Today, I'd like to share my truth on love and invite you all to think about how we can grow this love within ourselves and within our community. For those of you who do not know me, love is one of my favorite things in the world. Hot take, I know. Some of you, like Mr. Walker and Mr. Diane, might know this a little bit better than others from the sheer number of hugs that you've declined me. I've always loved the concept of love, and I've always enjoyed sharing my love with my family and my friends. But something that's not come as easily to me is giving the same love to myself. Although self-love is something that I'm still learning about today, I would like to share some of my understandings with you all in hopes of fostering a greater sense of self-acceptance, happiness, and compassion within each one of us, and ultimately in hopes of building an even more supportive community. To me, loving myself simply means treating myself with the same level of compassion and care that I would treat my dearest friend. It means recognizing when I need to take a step back and take some time to do what I truly love. For me, loving myself also means recognizing that I have almost everything that I need to be happy already within me. This was an especially hard concept for me to grasp, and something that I'm honestly still in the process of learning today. Coming to this realization requires exploring yourself, including what makes you happy and why it makes you happy. I'm quite blessed to have been raised in a family and in an environment where this value of self-understanding has been emphasized. And one of my strongest memories of putting this into practice occurred in grade 9. That fall, a close friend of mine and I had been trying to plan an outing for what seemed like ages. But each time something would come up, they would become busy, and the plans would get postponed. And each time I would end up feeling more and more disappointed. Finally, when our plans were canceled yet again, I felt extremely sad. That day I felt as though I had little energy. And I felt frustrated. Altogether, I felt lost. I couldn't understand why I was feeling this way, and I was just hoping to move past these feelings. So, I decided to clear my mind by doing two things that I loved: seeing Lake Ontario and being active. I biked a few kilometers from my house to Coronation Park, just down the road from here, and sat by the rocks. Then, I tried to act upon what I had always been taught about the importance of self-awareness. I wrote down a list of questions for myself. I asked myself questions about my goals and why I had these goals. I asked myself what makes me happy and why does this make me happy. And after that, I recorded my answers on my phone while sitting by the lake. Now, although I might have looked a little bit silly while channeling my inner Jimmy Kimmel and interviewing myself, I became much closer with myself that day and realized something crucial. I'd been depending on others to make me feel happy. This might not seem like such a profound or important concept, but I invite you all to think about it the way the author Humble the Poet frames this. Relying on others to make you feel happy can be like giving away the keys to your happiness. This does not mean that we cannot derive happiness and joy from being around those that we love, but rather that we acknowledge and understand our own power and influence on our own happiness. When I returned home that evening, I was feeling so excited, peaceful, and happy that I wanted to share this experience with my loved ones. So I called my friends, Emma and Liv, to talk about this, and I found myself tearing up with joy while explaining the situation to them. To love yourself, simply think about where you're at your happiest and pursue these passions with courage, with focus, and with intention. While pursuing these passions, we must continue to expand our self-love by knowing that we do not need to be perfect to be enough. In our highly competitive world, it can often feel like if we do not reach the highest level of achievement in whatever we do, we have somehow failed ourselves. We set ourselves on an endless path to a flawless product, as if we're on a competitive treadmill. Yet what we don't realize is that this very concept of perfection is flawed in itself. It imagines a world in which nothing else can be changed, nothing can be improved, while the very nature of our planet is to grow and to evolve for the better. Despite this, we often set unreasonable standards for ourselves and then scold ourselves for not being able to live up to these expectations. And on it goes. If depending on others for our happiness is like giving away the keys to our happiness, Constantly striving for perfection can be like throwing away the keys entirely. To rise above this need for perfection, I found the practice of self-forgiveness to be quite helpful. In my eyes, this is best expressed in this quote. I forgive myself for not being perfect. I'm living the very best way I know how. I found this quote in quite an interesting way. It was on a piece of artwork that I made in grade 2 with a family friend using pictures and text cut up from magazines. Now, I'm not exactly sure why this quote resonated with me so strongly in grade 2. Maybe I was just really invested in perfecting my arts and crafts. But when I came across this message earlier this year, I found it at the perfect time for me. Before rediscovering this mindset, I'd been feeling a deep sense of tightness and exhaustion. My measurements for my own success had become more and more rigid. If I didn't do anything, not only to the best of my abilities, but until it was flawless, I would feel the need to keep working at it. This extended to almost every area of my life, beyond just schoolwork, to simply making my bed in the morning. I would seriously let no creases go unfixed. But coming across this message that I forgive myself for not being perfect made me realize how hard I was being on myself and how doing your best is already more than enough. This lesson was reinforced this February when I went to Temagami with Mr. Stamper. For those of you who don't know Mr. Stamper and how resourceful he is, during our out trip, to distinguish between two identical water bottles, he used the back of his axe to simply dent one of them. And although I would have loved to quickly go over his plan before he dented my water bottle, his methods got results, and Maxie and I never mixed up our water bottles again. Another example of Mr. Stamper's resourcefulness clearly represents how we do not need to be perfect to be enough. To be clear, I don't mean to criticize Mr. Stamper in any way. I'm honestly impressed and inspired by his problem-solving ability, and this experience had a huge positive impact on my self-acceptance. So one afternoon, after we had traveled to our campsite in Moose Pond, we were getting ready to eat a wonderful meal of macaroni and cheese cooked by some of our cabin mates, expecting to use the utensils that we had brought from the cabin. But when we checked our boxes, there was no cutlery to be found. In nearly no time at all, Mr. Stamper, once again bringing out his axe, I think we can all see a theme here, started to chop wood into spoons. Until you've had macaroni and cheese using a wooden spoon cut by Mr. Stamper's axe, you've never really camped in Temagami. To me, loving yourself means that we don't always need to be the perfect piece of silverware. Often, a wooden spoon is just enough. While we begin to understand the control we have over our happiness and begin to identify and pursue our passions without the fear of flaws, I feel that to continue loving ourselves, we should live life with compassion. I hope that we all recognize that each one of us has something to offer, despite the challenges that we face and our own imperfections. There's a beautiful proverb that helps to explain this. Many years ago, in a small village, a village person would leave their house each morning to retrieve water from a nearby river. On their journey, they would bring along 2 pots, one on each side of a plank that they would carry on their back. After many months and many years of conducting this trip daily, the pot on the left began to crack, leaving a hole in the middle of it. So each time our friend would return to his village, while the pot on the right would be filled to the brim with water, the pot on the left would be half empty. This made the left pot, let's call them Lefty, very sad, as it felt like it was letting its owner and the village person down on each trip. One day, while the village person was filling up the pots by the river, Lefty broke down crying, and I mean really turning on the water works. Lefty said, "I'm sorry, my friend, but I have nothing left to offer you. You worked so hard to bring water back to your village, but each time I let you down. Please, just give me away." With compassion, our friend said, "Worthless? I wish you knew how much I loved you. We all have flaws, but within these flaws lies our beauty. Do you have any idea how much you have helped this environment grow and thrive?" Lefty was shocked. "Helped thrive? Who? Me?" The village person kindly exclaimed, "Of course," and he asked Lefty to look at its side of the trail on their journey back that day. As the village person started traveling back to their village, Lefty saw an endless row of flowers all along its side of the path. Butterflies were resting on some, bees were working on others, and the environment smelled absolutely wonderful. The village person said to Lefty, "Some time ago, I planted these seeds along the trail, knowing that your water would offer the needed support for these plants to blossom. And now, look around. See how the bees are buzzing happily, and how they can spread this joy and help even more flowers bloom. None of this would have been possible without your cracks, without what you saw as your imperfections. Like Lefty, we all have cracks, aspects of ourselves that we see as our shortcomings. Seeing what others have to offer and understanding that we all have something beautiful to help and to give to our environment can help us recognize and appreciate our own strengths. And recognizing and appreciating our own strengths can help us appreciate the unique offerings of those around us. This creates a lovely little cycle. As certainly as each hockey season, we all develop a newfound and unfounded sense of hope for the Toronto Maple Leafs. As we begin to love and appreciate ourselves, we continue to love and appreciate others. Now, if you're comfortable, I would like you all to close your eyes. Think about the challenge that you're facing at this moment, the thing that you're struggling most with, something that you might even be afraid of. Visualize yourself facing this challenge. Notice how it makes you feel. Now imagine another version of yourself reaching out to you in pain. Imagine them giving you encouragement and support. Imagine them giving you love. When you feel ready, open your eyes. Just as surely as you can imagine the difficulties that you're currently facing, so too can so many people around this hall and at our school. Just as strongly as you may have felt anxiety, fear, or pain while just thinking about these challenges, so too do so many people at our school feel about their own challenges. And just as gratefully as you would appreciate love and support in overcoming your challenges, so too would so many people in our school appreciate our support and our compassion in embracing their obstacles. We all have a responsibility to love and accept ourselves and to share our love with others. My sincere hope for us all is that we're able to find what we love doing, pursue these passions, and that we can all feel a sense of joy, fulfillment, and belonging each and every day, while sharing our love with the entire community. As the wise Uncle Iroh from Avatar once said, "Perfection and power are overrated. I think you are very wise to choose happiness and love." Dare to be loving this year, Appleby, to yourself and to all those around you. Thank you all for your time and for your openness today. Now please rise for hymn number 423.